Hello, everyone. Hello, real writers. Whether you're a journal writer or any other type of writing, or not a writer at all and just stopping by. You don't have to be a writer to do these videos. Welcome. This is Chris here for your weekly journal with me session. So I have some cards for us today to journal about. But first, I wanted to say, um, you know, happy autumn equinox. It is the equinox today. And if you are a writer, in my opinion, this is the writer's season. Um, I'm all about fall blankets and candles and books and tea and or hot chocolate or whatever. Dark mornings and evenings. I love how the light changes. It grows thinner and more transparent, and the sound is different. Birds and wind and rain and leaves. It's just different. And I know it could seem kind of scary. It's like, oh, the world is dying and then we're going to have winter. But to me it's a cycle, and as an introvert, this is just what I've been waiting for for the entire year because this is when the world becomes an introvert too, to some degree. And it's can just sort of take a breath. So if you're an introvert out there, hello, my sisters and brothers, I'm with you. I'm excited too. So, and this is when I feel called to write poetry and do more journaling. So I hope this fall, these videos provide you with that special opportunity to go within the season, the next 6 months or 7 months or whatever seem to call for. Because this is the equinox, it's a good time to take stock. The solstices and the equinox are a great time to check in with ourselves and where we are in our year. So maybe as we work with the cards today, you can reflect on the good things that have happened, the challenging things, what you've accomplished, what you haven't accomplished, and be proud of yourself for what you have accomplished. Even if there are things you haven't been able to move the needle on for a very long time, and this was yet another year that didn't happen, and I feel you. Totally understand. Be proud of what you have accomplished, and it may be that those things are the stepping stones to the other things, and it's just going to take more time. The earth is in perfect balance today. Are you in balance? And what do you need to add and subtract? What do you need to add and subtract to be in balance? Even if it's just for today. I mean, maybe saying that for the rest of the year or the month is too much. Just for today, what could you add or subtract to be in balance? Let's start there, one day at a time. That might be the question you want to journal on today. So let's look at the cards in just a moment. First, I wanted to share another postcard from the Obvious State Literary Arts Postcards project I funded. I was a funder for last year, and they arrived in July or August, and I have 2 sets. There are 2 sets in the box, so I'm keeping one for myself and I'm giving away the others. So I gave away the one I had a few weeks ago. That has just gone out in the mail because I was on vacation, and I was more like staying here, but anyway, I took a break, and here is the one that I'm happy to give away this time. It is a quote from Anne Bronte. I long to do some good in the world before I leave it. I long to do some good in the world before I leave it. This is the card. So if you're interested, the first person to comment receives the postcard. If you have, just for future reference, if you've received a postcard in the past, you are no longer eligible. So, and please know that if you live out of the country, it's going to take me a little bit longer because I have to go to the post office. And so going to the post office just seems very difficult. I don't know why. It's so hard to get to the post office. Also, the hours of the post office are never convenient. Am I right? So that's the postcard that I'm happy to give away. So first person to comment gets the postcard. and I will reply to your comment or try to reach you on YouTube through messaging. So make sure you have that available, or you check your email for notification about a response to your comment. If you don't have notifications enabled, you won't see it. So you might want to check back in the comment section to see if it's you. If I don't hear from you within like a week or so, I will pick the next comment. So if you see that there's already a comment, please do also comment, because you might be the person that gets this because the original poster didn't send me their address in time. I want to keep it moving. I might be doing these, going to the post office, depending, regularly, and we're dropping these all together in a mailbox together to make it easier. So I love getting things in the mail. I hope you do too, and that's why I would like to do this. Okay, let's look at today's cards. I'm using the Soul Trees Oracle cards today. I love these cards. Very manageable and easy to hold. They were created by Allison Williams Yee, Y-E-E. So the first card is Believe. And this one is one of the few that has a few flowers in it, a few lovely pink and fuchsia flowers. And there are very, very short descriptions of these cards. The idea is for you to read into them yourself. So believe means, in the little description, have faith and trust. What is happening in your life now that this card is asking you to have faith in? Have faith and trust. What is happening in your life now that this card is asking you to have faith in? So that could be your question. So I'll read it one more time in case you'd like to write it down. What is happening in your life now that this card is asking you to have faith in? And I'll also be posting these questions in the description box. The second card, appropriately for the season, is Transition. Let me move it up so you guys can see it a little bit. So Transition, almost the complete opposite of the other card. So the first card seems very spring-like, and this seems very fall-like. Transition. Something old is falling away to create the space for something new. So that's a lovely way to look at fall. Falling away. Something is falling away to create the space for something new. And I might add that it could be falling away to reveal something that has always been there and that now needs to come forward. So, these are both very positive ideas of fall, and certainly it's the way leaves and trees work. The leaves fall away and you can finally see the shape of the trees, the true tree itself, the bare tree. So if you're not a fan of fall, maybe that's a more positive way to look at it. Something old is falling away to create the space for something new, or as I'm adding, revealing what has always been there. So what might that be for you if you are attracted to this card? And number 3, and I have these cards too close together so they are knocking each other over. Expansion. Expansion, that's a beautiful card. It has a lot of movement. Down in the roots, lots of movement. And remember, trees grow above as well as below. The size of the tree below is the same as the expanse and reach of the branches above in terms of the roots. We just don't see it. So expansion. Oh, this little booklet. An area of your life is expanding. It could be an inner awakening or external growth in your everyday life, career, family, home, etc. An area of your life is expanding. It could be an inner awakening or external growth in your everyday life, career, family, home, etc. So consider those elements of your life. And if there is an expanding or an awakening, an inner awakening or external growth, if that card appeals to you, looks like it's going to fall over, so let's fix that. Let me move my little pine cone here. And the fourth card is flourish. Flourish. These cards are just gorgeous. Flourish. Beautiful things are happening and growing within and around you. Visualize yourself thriving in the area of your life that you would like to expand. Thought before form. I'll read it again. Beautiful things are happening and growing within and around you. Visualize yourself thriving in the area of your life that you would like to expand. Thought before form. So what I would say about these cards is maybe one of these cards is reflecting what is actually happening in your life, and so it's you've connected with one of these cards or more than one of these cards for that reason. But maybe one of these cards is what you wish would happen. So you're welcome to write about that instead. Remember, thought before form. That happens. That's true for all of these cards. That's true for everything. So if you wish that one of these cards was true for you, then perhaps you might journal on that card as a means of bringing it into reality, making it true. So let's journal for 10 minutes on these, and you can certainly look at all of these cards as a movement or a pathway forward, because you could. There's the belief in something, that something is you are worthy of something, or that something will happen, or something will come into being, or a change will occur, or whatever. And then there's the transition into the reality of that coming into reality, and then expanding out into the world, and then after that expansion, flourishing. So that could be a whole cycle right there. Let's get started. that's our 10 minutes. I hope you found these cards inspiring. I came to a very interesting realization near the end in the last few minutes that I wanted to share with you all. I went through each card. I was writing about how, with all the colors that were coming in the first two cards and the transition idea, that I feel like personally, I mean, I'm a writer, so I'm talking about my writing here and my creative work, that I feel that in some ways I've been following the same path as other people instead of my own path. In the writing world, there's just, I don't know, there are several different paths, many different paths, of course, but we get caught up in who's publishing with big publishers, who's self-publishing, who's publishing with small presses, who's receiving prizes and going to conferences, and who's being asked to do what. And if you follow all this stuff on social media, it can make you feel completely inadequate and overwhelmed, and that you have a list of things that you need to check off in order to be a successful writer and keep up with everyone else. And you don't really have to keep up with everyone else, and it's something I've always believed. But, you'll see things online and then you think, oh, I should have done that by now, or why hasn't that happened to me? And it's not really, and it could be that that's just not the thing you're supposed to have or do or be right now. It could happen later, but maybe it's not. Maybe there's something better for you. Maybe you're forging a new path that will inspire other people. And this can be anything in your life. It doesn't have to be writing. But I was thinking that for me, that I have been for so long, perhaps in terms of my creative life as a tree, if you will, that perhaps the flower and the fruit and the colors have not been mine, and I need to shed them in order to figure out what the flowering and fruiting and colors are mine as a writer, as a creative person. And it might be that the tree has to stay bare for a while, for a cycle, maybe a season or the whole year. Sometimes how trees will not bear fruit or leaf or flower for a year. Suddenly they'll just not do it, and then or maybe a couple of years, and then they'll come back and they will. I don't study trees, so I couldn't tell you why, but maybe that's what needs to happen. And it can be the same idea as growing something in the ground. Maybe the field or the soil has to lie fallow for a while before it's ready to grow something again. Maybe I haven't had the right soil or water or light for whatever I've been trying to grow, and that's why it hasn't been a success, or not a success in the way I wanted it to. And I need to accept the way things have come. And maybe that's true for you too. We impose this idea of what we want, and if it doesn't come that way, then we think it's a failure, but maybe that's not true. Take a look at that again and consider that maybe how it came to you or how it happened is exactly how it should have happened. And that's a good thing to celebrate. So that's where I am, this idea that I think for me right now, my tree has to remain bare. And it's uncomfortable and it's vulnerable, and especially at this time of year, it's cold to have a bare tree. But maybe that's just the way it is. The space has to be made for the right thing to enter, and the tree has to gather strength to change, to transition. And it has to gather strength for the coming expansion and flourishing, and it's just about believing that that will happen, and not needing to see proof that that's coming, but just believe that it is. So that's what happened for me today in journaling. I would love to hear what came up for you, or if you have a response to mine, please feel free to comment on that. And remember that the first comment will receive the postcard. I long to do some good in the world before I leave it. That's the quote, Anne Bronte. And remember to have your settings, your messaging enabled, either that you get a note that a comment has been responded to, your comment has been responded to, or that you can receive messages via YouTube messaging in the system, in the app or whatever, online. And Otherwise, if I don't hear from somebody within a week or so, I will take the person in the next comment. So again, if you see a comment, comment anyway, because you may get the card. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Sunday and your weekend and a wonderful week ahead. And thank you for joining me. Happy writing.